Welcome, everybody, to the second episode of People with Disabilities Doing Stuff. My name is Joey Ellis, and I'm here with my buddy Kevin States, and we thank you for joining us today.
Hey, thank you, Joey. Hey, we are excited to have a guest here, and I'll kind of let you kind of describe your story and all that. But Samyuktha, is that correct?
Yes.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you so much for joining us. And yeah, we kind of just wanted to start off, and I know I saw you present at a HEAD conference, which for the audience, a HEAD is Association in Higher Ed and Disability, and I just really liked your story, and we just kind of wanted to ask you to kind of describe your story and what you're doing.
Yes. Oh, thank you for having me, Kevin and Joey. It is a pleasure to be here. I am Samyuktha Neeraja, and I live in the Chicago area, and I am a disability advocate, and I also currently work for a national nonprofit organization. The disability that I have is dwarfism, which is a physical disability that results in adult short stature, can be disproportionate or proportionate. And the type of dwarfism that I have is achondroplasia, which is the most common type of dwarfism. So yeah, I've been like this is like disability advocacy, inclusion, equity, fairness, just I has been such a big importance in my life. Like I embody that. I try to embody that every day in the work that I do, and the just living my life and just raising that awareness and also embracing like my identity. Another identity that I'm very proud of is I am a South Asian descent. I was actually born in India and I emigrated here to the US when I was like a little over a year old. So while I've grown up here, I am very my Indian Hindu identity is a huge part of me. So
Right.
that is something that I've learned to embrace, and also learning how it fits in with my disability. So it's something that I'm very, very proud of, and just I can't have it any other way. So again, thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us. So, um, just curious, when I first really realized that I had cerebral palsy when I was about 5 or 6. I'm just kind of curious when you first started to recognize that you had some differences, and how did that impact you?
Yeah. So dwarfism is diagnosed like right before birth. So my mom knew that I was going to be little right before she had
Hmm.
me. And growing up, I remember like my mom, like when I was little, like I thought I was the same height as with my other classmates.
Right.
So I didn't notice anything.
Hmm.
I thought like it was just, what it is. And then later on, when I was in kindergarten and like preschool age, I remember like one of my friends like noticed that I was little,
Hmm.
and I didn't really think much of it, but I told my mom, and she's like, you are little, you are different. And I didn't accept it. I didn't want to be different. I thought because, being little was, a bad thing. But then as I started, growing up and just like learning more about myself and trying to navigate the world, it it was at first I was like, no, I don't want to be little. I'm not like that. I'm not different. I just want to be like everyone else. But then um my mom started taking me to Little People of America
Hmm.
gatherings. So Little People of America, or LPA, is the acronym. That is the national organization that provides advocacy, resources, medical support for people with dwarfism and their families. And so my mom, ever since like I can remember, she started taking me to different gatherings so so I could see and meet other people like me,
Right.
just to form that community and form that support and know that you're not alone in this, and just to get that reassurance that you are perfect for who you are,
Hmm.
and any how to ask for accommodations, and just getting that medical prognosis of like what I would need, what I can expect growing up, and like what accommodations or what things to look out for, and
Right. Right.
um how to navigate life, and
Yeah.
like
Start that at
and
self
it
advocacy soon, right? Early.
exactly
Right.
self advocacy
Yeah.
definitely starts early.
Hmm.
So,
Fantastic.
so was this in the? You mentioned you live in Chicago area, right?
Mhm.
And I know you said you moved. was it to Chicago like when you were like a year and a half or something like that, correct?
Yeah.
So the meetings, were they in the Chicago area, I would assume? What
Yeah, exactly. So the national organization, it's divided into different districts across the country. And so I'm a member of the District 6, which covers Wisconsin and Illinois. And then each district has its own chapters.
okay.
So the chapter that I'm part of is the Windy City chapter, so that covers Chicagoland.
That's awesome.
Very cool.
And when you guys get together, what was that? What did that entail essentially?
Just really just community building. A lot of like we do activities together. There's meetings, doctor appointments, like just these LPA puts together these conferences where it's just like huge, like thousands, like couple thousand of LPs. They come and gather, and just there's a lot of workshops. There's outdoor gatherings, just like outings, and just really community coming together and just hanging out, spending time, and supporting each other.
That's
Very
great.
cool.
That's great.
So, in your everyday life, what are some accommodations or some things that you utilize just to help you live independently? And then also, what are some barriers that you run into on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah. So the main accommodation for me is a step stool.
Mhm.
I require a step stool to just do basic daily tasks that many average sized folks take for granted, like brushing my teeth, washing my hands, getting things off the kitchen counters, the kitchen cabinets, off the closets, like the shelf, like the top shelf in the closet. So I can't function independently without a step stool. So you'll see step stools
Yep.
everywhere in my house. Other accommodations that I have are like things that like maybe a step stool won't be able to reach or that it's just too cumbersome. I have hooks lowered,
Hmm.
things lowered, or those stick-on hooks to put my coat up. And I drive. One common misconception is that a lot of people think that little people can't drive because of our short stature, but I
Hmm.
drive. I have my own car. So I use pedal extenders that latch on to the brake and the gas pedal, and so I could reach, so
Right.
I could access it. So I
Hmm.
drive. That's an accommodation. I some of my clothing is altered where my mom sometimes has to hem the pants so I could wear it so it can fit me or but actually most of my clothing I just wear extra small women's
Right.
or my pants are like for average size women if they wear capris those are pants for me
Okay.
or I
Yeah.
can just roll up the sleeves
Hmm.
if the sleeves are too long. So
Yeah.
I it's a lot of adjusting, it's a lot of problem solving, finding creative solutions and adapting and just like you're just doing the best you can. But to answer your second question about like the barriers, really the barriers are people's attitudes. Like
Oh.
people's like the attitudes, just the ignorance, the microaggressions, the just going going out every day, just trying to do your thing and just trying to because we all have our own lives, we all have our own things, we're all trying to get by, we all have but it's just you're always that is something that I've accepted like I'm gonna
Hmm.
accept for the rest of my life, those judgments, those um that the ignorance. So there are days where I'm just like, yeah, I can tell you I can tell I can share, I can educate. But then there are days where I was like, I don't want to deal with you right now.
Right.
So I
Right.
think so it's just people's attitudes, and especially when it comes to accommodations, because like to this day, like whenever I travel, I always have to request a step stool for my hotel room. And there are times where the hotel staff will push back. They were like, we're not going to provide one for you. And they say like they don't have it. And I'm like, well, can you purchase it?
Hmm.
So, but then they push back and they say, "Oh, we don't want to accommodate. It's a liability," and just like all that, all those excuses. And it's really, and so it's frustrating when you have to educate and tell them, this is a very reasonable accommodation.
Right. Right.
Less than like $10, and
Hmm.
if you want me to have a comfortable stay, I need the step stool.
That's
And I'm not
awesome.
asking you to bring the moon. I'm just
Right.
asking for this like accommodation. And when you say no, you're denying me access to basic amenities, which is discrimination.
You're
So that is
violating
something.
ADA at that point, right? Yeah,
Exactly.
the
It's
Americans.
a it's an ADA violation,
Mm-hmm.
and they don't realize that. So that is like definitely one of those barriers.
Uh, that is frustrating. I mean, I can't speak for obviously you and for Joey, but I feel confident that we've all had our own experiences
Yeah.
in some capacity. All three of us have disabilities or disability in some format. And some of the things when people are talking down to people that have knowledge in that field, it's
Mhm.
frustrating. And people don't understand some of the barriers that we face. I had a question, but so kind of follow up, and you don't have to share any, but do you have any of those defining stories that are like, hey, I know you mentioned you're an advocate. Were there any defining stories or reason you became an advocate? I didn't know if there were like some stories that are just like of ignorance where it kind of like, hey, that really motivated me to do this or those kind of things.
I think having already, being a self-advocate, right? Like you're an advocate already, right? Like just like that lifelong advocacy. And I think my mom is my number one advocate, since even like before birth, like just like she's like, I'm like, just to make, like, she was determined that to give me the best life possible, to make sure that I have all the things in place so I could be as independent and successful as possible. And I think, and so she instilled in me that drive, that determination to get what I need. And because like I deserve to have the same opportunities and the same, like, to be able to participate. I may just need certain adjustments. So I think once um, because as I mentioned, like self advocacy is going to be lifelong, right? Like
Mm.
it's going to be a lifelong journey. But then on top of that, especially during my adult years where I felt that I was very established in who I was and I was very confident in who I was, I'm like, okay, well, this is who I am, but what about everyone else? Like what about other people who are struggling who may not have had the same privileges or the same like as the same the same support system, right? The same support system or the same um like privileges or pleasures or like just the same opportunities. So I'm like, what can I do to make sure that people like me or in other disabilities or other identities can also feel empowered or can also be supported. So I think just and especially when in the last 5 years since what's interesting how DEI and how
Mm.
just during the pandemic and how it became such a big everyone started jumping on it. And to me I think DEI is something that we've always been doing. It's not a buzzword, it's not a trend. I think it as organizations started, incorporating it more, it I it kind of allowed me to be like, well, hey, I have a story too. I have a story. Why don't I use that? Why don't I leverage that? If people are trying to make a difference, if people are really trying to make an impact, I could be a part of that too.
Mm-hmm.
So, and especially in the disability arena, especially for those that have for intersecting identities too, because I think it's not just one thing. It's so many things. So that's why I was like, well, hey, I could say something. I could share as well. I could be a part of this.
Excellent.
That's great. That's great.
So, kind of piggybacking off of that, in your self advocacy role, if you could say three things to a young person with either dwarfism or any other disability, what would that be?
As in, as in the advocacy angle, or just any three
Just
things?
anything, anything at all.
Anything. Well, the first thing I would say is like you matter, like you belong. Like you
Absolutely.
belong here, and like you deserve to be here. You deserve like access to like all the opportunities and like your dreams. Like you can like your
Mm-hmm.
dreams matter. Your dreams um you deserve to fulfill those dreams. And so that's the first thing. The second thing is like don't discount yourself
I
just
love
because you
that.
have a disability.
I love that.
Don't
Yeah.
feel like you you need to discount yourself or your experiences to, you know, make other people comfortable. Like I see that a lot, like where we're discounting ourselves, our experiences, or we're kind that internalized ableism that we have where we're like, well, I don't want to ask, I don't want to be an inconvenience, so I'm not gonna, ask for what I need. That vulnerability, right? So I think in order for us to live and do the best we can, and I think we have to ask. We have to ask for what we need, and sometimes people say, "Well, I don't ask what I need. I just adjust." I just like, for example, one another little person I know, he said, "I don't ask for accommodations. I just because I don't want to put up with the pushback, so I just like get a stool myself." And and it's disheartening sometimes because it's like, well, we deserve to have at that. Like they're supposed to do that for us, and that's the second thing. Like, don't discount yourself. Like, you deserve to ask for what you need. And the third thing is, I think it kind of goes along with like, you don't like not discounting yourself and your struggles. And then the third thing is, you don't need to prove yourself to anybody at the same time. Like I feel like I'm seeing that when people are judgmental or people like they expect us to have this like wild story, or they expect us to have some kind of like inspirational story, or just sometimes we don't. Sometimes we don't, like we don't have to explain ourselves. We don't need to prove ourselves to everybody. Like we all have our struggles. There are things that we can't do, and like we don't need to have to try to overcome it. Like there are things we can't do, period, and there's nothing we can do about it. Right? So we don't need to have to explain or over explain, or just like have to like prove something to people to prove our worth. We are
Absolutely.
worth it
Right.
regardless whether we can do it or
Right.
not.
And we focus on the
So
things that we can do. Right.
yeah.
Absolutely. I love that.
Yeah, yeah, and I love that because, to be honest, this is the reason. We also have another person, Gerald, that is also going to be a frequent guest and a co-host at times. And so Joey and all of us, we all have our stories. But Joey and I know when we collaborate and communicate, and I know Gerald's the same way. It's not. We just want to have the same access that like anybody else. So we just want, yes, our disability may be a part of us. It doesn't define who we are as a whole.
Yeah.
And so, like, that's the whole point of this podcast, to be honest, is to focus on getting that access and hearing people's stories, and even showing down the road what some of the stuff that we do. And so, kind of focusing on that part. I know you're an advocate, but I know you do many other things. So, career wise, outside of advocacy, what are you doing these days?
Yeah, so I currently work for a national nonprofit. I'm working in the like so this national nonprofit provides a network of resources, engages with the nonprofit, like basically like all the nonprofits in the country almost. So we provide like networking, engagement, and resources, support, like advocacy, just like just all the things like for nonprofits to do their job so that they can support the public good, right? The common good in in the world. So I am in charge of like the membership side. So I do a lot of work with the members and membership engagement and programming, just making sure that they're engaged and they have what they need to support their nonprofits. Before that, I worked in the association space for about 10 years. So associations are kind of like not kind of like nonprofits, but they're member facing. So associations like have a specialty or a trade. And I was in healthcare associations. So my last job, I was working for a nursing association where I was also kind of in membership, but more like chapter relations, where I worked with volunteers. And another association I work with for doctors. So I I love it. I loved working directly. Like I'm very much of a people person, so I love providing that support and working behind the scenes to make sure that the professionals had what they need to support their patients or their their communities. So it's pretty fulfilling, very rewarding, and So yeah, it's been a good journey.
That's
Very
great.
cool.
That's great.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us today. And we had some just wonderful conversations there. And I really love the fact that you are advocating and that you are providing representation for individuals with disabilities in a positive way. And I do thank you for your time.
Yeah, and I just want to also plug that, I've seen you speak, and I appreciate your advocacy. And I just want to give praise that I think you mentioned your mom numerous times as an advocate, which is awesome. So I always want to give any kind of support system praise, and just thank you for everything. And I appreciate your time, and we look forward to communicating with you in the future.
Yes, thank you. Thank you both for having me. It was fun.
And that concludes the second episode of People with Disabilities Doing Stuff. And thank you for joining us.
Thank you all.